There may have been a price leak for how much external storage will cost for Xbox Series X. GameStop is looking into starting their own all-access program. A second SKU for the Xbox Series X could exist. Sony gives us the official date for their next games showcase, and I'm excited about that one. I cannot wait. And speaking of Sony, the price of the PlayStation 5 may have leaked early. All of these stories and more can be found here in episode 144 of the Analog Circle Podcast. I am your host, Kiaun Mitchell, and my goodness, I come to you with happy energy, I guess, this morning. I must say that the Ravens Nation stand up. What a heck of a win yesterday, 38-6. Man, what a blowout. But we're not here. We're not here to talk about the Ravens. We're not here to talk about sports, as Mooch would say. We are here to talk about gaming. So I want to let you guys know, before we jump into the show, man, I ran into some technical difficulties, but we are back. The beauty of editing, people, the beauty of editing, man. Anyway, if you, the listener out there, want to be a part of the conversation, if you guys want to be a part of the podcast, you can feel free to do it two different ways. Either call in at 443-216-9934 and let your voice be heard, or you can email the show, and the email address is the Analog Circle Podcast at gmail.com. So with that being said, guys, I guess, man, I did not get a chance to really get into anything this week, so I don't have anything to report on that front, unfortunately. But I tell you, Cyberpunk is still going to be one of my most anticipated games. Looking forward to that whenever it comes out, November. Yeah, I think they said it will not be any more delays. That game is on track to come out, so that's going to be great when it happens. But anyway, let's go ahead and let's get into what we all come here for, and that is for the gaming news that went down. So let's kick it off with some new Kena Bridge of Spirits info, because Game Informer got a chance to see the game running on the PlayStation 5, and some of the features they pointed out was the load times to start a new game. To load, it took 2 seconds to load. Now, they also talked about the DualSense controller, where they pointed out that it would be utilized for heavy attacks and a bow. Now, they explained how it feels when you use the bow. Quote, they said you draw it, and the way it sounds and the resistance feels like a bow tightening up, which is amazing. Now, Game Informer also pointed out that the resistance, this is the thing that really got me amped. He said the resistance on the triggers would also be used for heavy attacks, but they never went into detail about how that feels. So when you're pulling the bow back, you feel the triggers tightening up, making it harder to pull it back. I have wanted this kind of interaction with controllers for years. And finally, Sony has this DualSense controller that allegedly does these kinds of things. I'm just thinking you pushing heavy objects. The way that it's going to feel is going to make it feel like it's heavy. You can feel the weight of the object being pushed or pulled, or that is just next generation to me. I love the fact that this controller, and hopefully the way that it's being reported on, it actually turns out to be that way. But I just love the immersion that this controller makes it feel like, or at least makes it sound like it's going to make you feel when you're playing a game. So I'm really looking forward to this. And then the load times, 2 seconds. 2 seconds of load time. That is insane. And Kina, that game looks really good. I would say that's a pretty graphically intense game. Maybe not like Last of Us Part 2 levels or Ghost of Tsushima levels. Nah, not that. But it's still a very nice looking game. Now, the thing about this game, Kina, Bridge of Spirits, they did say that it got delayed. It was supposed to be a release title, a launch title, but it got delayed until first quarter. So I guess that's still in the launch window. But the developer, they also said that you can beat the game in a weekend. Over a weekend, you'll be able to beat the game, and the game will not be $59.99. So it seems like this game might fall in the range of, and keep in mind, the developers didn't say this, but I'm guessing that if you can beat the game in over a weekend, and they're saying it's not going to be $60, I'm taking it's going to run between that $30 to $40 range, somewhere between Ori and, whatever's at the $40 tier, So, we'll have to see how this turns out, though. But, man, I can't wait to try out that DualSense controller. I'm just trying to really figure out what kind of magic some of these developers are going to do with the controller. Now, I'm taking it, people thought that the PlayStation 4, that little touch screen pad or whatever, people thought that they were going to take advantage of that, and they didn't. That wasn't something that really took off. But I think that the tightening of these, of the triggers and making it feel like, good grief, you're really pulling back on a bow. That kind of immersion, I think developers would definitely take advantage of that. And hopefully it won't just be a fad where they do it for these this first launch title of games or games that are in the launch window, but they'll continue to work on it and make it better. But I feel like I've had too much time on this story, so we're going to go ahead and move on into the next story. Now, you guys remember about a week or two ago, we started hearing more rumors popping back up about a new Switch being in the works. But at the time, articles were only pointing out that it would have a better screen, better controls. But it was no mention about whether or not it would be more powerful. Well, leave it up to Bloomberg, because they are the ones that actually are reporting on this information. Now, because of this, Nintendo has allegedly, this is what Bloomberg is saying, Nintendo has allegedly asked developers to make their Nintendo Switch games 4K ready. So again, we get more alleged proof that Nintendo was working on a 4K Switch model. But once again, Nintendo has not officially come out and said this, so we have to take it with a mustard seed of truth. But if Nintendo is in fact telling developers to make their games 4K ready, what would that say to you if you were reading this and you're saying, man, if they're saying this to developers, that has to mean that something is in the works. What it is, we don't know. But we know that next year, allegedly, this new Switch is supposed to be being produced. Did that make sense? That the new Switch is supposed to be being? I don't know, man. They're saying that it's supposed to be in production next year, and we're going to get something on it sometime next year. It's going to be released. So if they can make a 4K, God dog, if they could make a 4K Nintendo Switch, man, what is that going to look like? Speaking of Nintendo, did you guys know that I forgot what store it was, but and I didn't write this down, so I can't remember it verbatim, but They stopped taking pre-orders on 3D All-Stars with the, what is it? Mario 64, Mario Sunshine, and, Mario that was on the Wii. They stopped Mario Galaxy. They stopped taking pre-orders. I don't know why. I have no clue why. But they stopped. Who the heck knows? I don't know. Anyway, let's go ahead and move on into the next story. So, by now you have heard the incredible news about the Xbox Series S that will cost $299 and the Series X will be $499. Two great doggone price points. But one thing, at least during this time of writing, we haven't heard is how much extra storage will be. So first off, I wanna shout out Gaming Forte. That's my dude, man. He doesn't know me. I know he doesn't, but Gaming Forte is a cool dude. I really like him. He works at GameStop. He's a cool dude, man. I really like his commentary. But I heard this from him first. But just to back his statements up, a Twitter user named Idle Sloth posted a picture and captured it by saying, quote, leaked Xbox Series X Seagate 1 terabyte SSD expansion priced at, man, this price is ridiculous and not in a good way, priced at $219.99. Now that is a pretty aggressive price point. Now at this time, Microsoft has not confirmed this, so if it's true or not, we don't know yet, but my gosh, $219.99 for 1 terabyte. Ooh, wee, sheesh. At that point, listen, man. Hey, man, good grief, got to wipe my brow. God dog, I'm sweating off that price. At this point in time, if this turns out to be true, and you get an Xbox Series S, god darn, man, you are paying for the 1 terabyte right there. Right there, man. I'm hoping this is not true. I truly hope that this is just wrong information. Just wrong information on this situation, but we won't know until Microsoft actually comes out and tells us for themselves. But hopefully the prices aren't that steep. I understand that we're working on SSD technology and the NVMe U or whatever it's called, and that stuff is expensive, but good gosh, can you guys imagine how much a 4 terabyte would be? What, $800? I mean, god dog. Oh, man, I don't know. Hopefully this isn't true, but we'll see. Moving into some quick news, Assassin's Creed Valhalla's date has been moved up a week, so it will now launch on November 10th with the Series S and X consoles. Now, the game has been confirmed. Now, this was dope to hear. It's been confirmed to run at 4K 60 frames per second on the Series X. So that's fantastic news. We were all asking for this. They heard us, and now they're going to make sure that the game is running at 4K 60. Fantastic. On the X, though, not the S. Let's go ahead and move into some more news. Now, this is interesting. Now, it looks like Microsoft's Xbox All Access program has GameStop possibly looking into doing something very similar. So this is coming from GamesBeat, who was claiming they got internal documents after GameStop had their quarterly earnings meeting. So the first option would be layaway, which would allow a customer to keep a product on reserve at a store until they complete the full payment. That's the old school way. I get that. The second option is rent to own. Now, how this option will work is GameStop will be working. They'll be working with a third-party partner who is reputable, they're saying, that will offer a customer to walk out the door with the console in hand with minimal upfront cost, and you will have between 30 days and 12 months to pay it off. And if you feel like you can't keep up with the payments, this is cool with this program. If you can't keep up with the payments, because we know life does happen, option, you will be able to return it at any time during that 12-month payoff period. So that's really dope. Now, another route you can take is GameStop will be teaming up with third-party payment services like Klarna and QuadPay, which will allow you to split up the purchase into 4 payments over a 6-week period, and the payments will be interest-free. Now, just to point this out, these options will also be for the PlayStation 5. So it's not just going to be the Series X, but this is going to be, well, I'm not going to repeat it. Yeah, I think this is interesting. I don't know if it's going to work because, once again, these are just possible scenarios on how GameStop is trying to attack it if they do decide to throw their hat in the ring. I don't think that's bad, though. I think, hey, more options is always good, especially in the economy that we're living in. The climate is rough out here right now. So I think this is pretty cool. I think that if a person wants a PlayStation 5, and we know that as it stands right now, PlayStation doesn't have an all-access program, but if GameStop could be that bridge to come in and say, well, hey, guess what? If you want it, we can get it to you, and you have these options on how you can get it done to be able to walk home, take it home with you, and not really break the bank up front. So we'll see if this actually happens, if this comes to fruition, because we know GameStop, they were trying maybe a year or two ago. It's been a while ago now. They were trying to do that rental service, and we saw that kind of fell through because their systems weren't updated enough or whatever. So it's all not speculation, but it's all being considered right now. So, I mean, with the holiday season approaching and GameStop not being in the best, I would say the best position financially, this might be a really good option for them, and they might be able to capitalize on it. So we'll see. But let's move on into the next story. So if things weren't interesting enough for you on the Xbox side, we got some more rumors, and if it couldn't get more crazy, listen to this. So once again, Idle Sloth, this guy is just running through, man. Idle Sloth is the one reporting that Xbox has an alleged third console, which is being called the Xbox Series V. Now, here is what Idle Sloth said on Twitter, and I quote, "Rumor, there is a Xbox Series V, codename is Project Edinburgh. Yeah, that's it, Edinburgh. It's rumored to be less powerful than the Series X, but more powerful than the Series S." End of quote. And to top it off, he showed a picture of it. And I mean, it does look bigger than the Series S, but smaller than the Series X. And it looks like it will be a all-digital model. But remember, this is a rumor, and Microsoft hasn't announced anything officially. But how crazy would it be if this alleged Series V could come in at a $349.99 price point, or even $400? And since this rumor is just that, a rumor, shoot, man, let's get really crazy. What if this is the Series X, just an all-digital edition? Well, wait a minute. Nah, that wouldn't make sense, because the guy did say that it was less powerful than a Series X. I don't even know if this is true. Does that make sense? Would that make sense for Microsoft to do something like that? I mean, 3 SKUs and I don't know, man. Sometimes, like I say, man, sometimes I write these stories down. They sound good at the time. Then I start talking about it out loud, and I'm like, yeah, I don't know if that's gonna be a good idea. 3 SKUs at launch. One is the most powerful. One is a little less powerful, and then the other one is even less powerful. Man, I don't know, man. I don't know. I would have thought. I mean, like I said, this is rumors once again. This is not confirmed. Anybody can Photoshop stuff nowadays and make it look like real accurate. But I don't think that would make sense to have them actually do that. I would think it would make more sense to make the Series X a all digital model since, God dog, Microsoft, y'all pioneered that. All digital console, what they call it, the SAD. Oh, it's crying, the SAD edition. I would think that they would have took advantage of that and, done that, knocked off $100. That way you could really go up against Sony and have them at all angles. You could have them at the high end, deadlocked, with $400 because that's allegedly what's supposed to be. I think I just went a little ahead of myself. Anyway, man, listen, man, we're going to go ahead, run this one to bed. And, we'll see if this is true or not, but I'm leaning towards it not being true. But let's talk about what I would call the biggest PlayStation news of the week. Now, it is official, and I'll just read the PlayStation tweet directly. Quote, PlayStation 5 Showcase broadcast live this Wednesday at 1 p.m. Pacific time. End of quote. So it's being said that the event will be 40 minutes long. So September 16th, oh man, that will be the day. Are we going to finally get the price of the doggone system? Price and daggone release date and the launch lineup. Can we get the launch lineup details, please, PlayStation? This is awesome, man. I'm really looking forward to it. If it's Pacific time, I guess that'll be around 3 or 4 o'clock here on the East Coast time, I guess. We'll see. But anyway, I'm very excited about this. 40 minutes long. That's not gonna break the bank. Speaking of events, now, God, dog, I hate to just jump around like this, but I got to. And the podcast, we getting close to the end already. But did you guys see that Microsoft's whole their whole presentation that was supposed to happen this week, it got leaked on Saturday in different parts. 1, 2, 3, and 4. I forgot this guy's name, man, but he's been out there leaking some real information. And I don't know if he obviously has some connections somewhere. Cause this dude said this is part 1, this is part 2, this is part 3 and 4. That would have been a decent, I think that would have been pretty decent. That would have been a decent event. I think I totaled it up to be a little over a half an hour. It was like 8-minute intervals of it. So I was like, golly, that would have been a dope announcement if they were able to pull it off and got it off this week. People would have been shocked. I think it would have had a little bit more impact. But Microsoft, they just owned the price point. Say, yeah, that's what's happening. But yeah, it wasn't boring. It definitely wasn't anything amazing and just had my mind blown, but it was decent enough. But, yeah, man. Anyway, this Wednesday, 1 p.m. Pacific time, 40 minutes. I'm just looking for the price, the launch lineup, and when it will release. But let's go ahead, since we're talking about Sony, let's get into some quick Insomniac Games news. Now, they have given more info in a tweet about Spider-Man Miles Morales, where they said, and I quote, #Miles Morales PlayStation 5 is realized in 4K HDR on PS5. See reflections with ray tracing and improved lighting, shadows, and character detail. #Spider-Man PlayStation 5. End of quote. So if we were not aware, which I think most of us were, but we weren't 100% sure how it was going to work, we heard about the 4K. And we heard about the 60 frames per second. But here, Insomniac Games, they are putting it out there all on Front Street, brothers and sisters, that the game will have ray tracing. And talking about seeing reflections, ray tracing in the game, that's going to be fantastic, man. I'm really looking forward to that, but there's not much more to say about this. Spider-Man will have 4K and it will have ray tracing. That's awesome. Let's go ahead and get into another quick news story. Now, Reset Era is reporting that a pair, this is where I got ahead of myself, ladies and gentlemen, God dog. But they are reporting that a pair of console SKUs listed by a Spanish retailer could possibly have leaked the price of the PlayStation 5. Now, the first is listed at €399, and the second is listed at $499. So they were saying that would basically be the same price here in the States. Now, once again, this is just a rumor. This is something that possibly happened. Oh, but one thing that's not a rumor is the PlayStation 5, it will come with a display stand, so that will be included in the box. But this is what I thought PlayStation would do. I didn't think that the all digital model would be just as much as the physical model, because that wouldn't make sense. I mean, you're paying for the same thing minus one thing. So I figured that would be the case, but coming in at $400 and $500, having it be deadlocked with the Series X, that's going to be an interesting race, though. That's going to be very, very interesting to see how that actually comes out. If this is true, if they're both going to be deadlocked at 500 and the Series X is the more powerful console, whereas the PlayStation 5 is not. But the leveling factor in that is that PlayStation just has the games lineup. They got some amazing IPs on their side that will straight out level the playing field, and the power narrative, I don't know if it's going to be as prevalent this time out unless PlayStation 5 is just really getting outdone on all levels, all fronts when it comes to third party, because that's basically what happened this generation. Xbox, they were more expensive, but they were less powerful, and they got ran through the mud for it. So will the same thing happen to PlayStation? It's hard to say, because they do have the market share, or I should say the mind share and the market share, to be fair. But, you know, the thing about them is they have those exclusives, and Microsoft doesn't have any. They got 0 exclusives. If they stop putting their stuff on PC, or put it on PC a year later, 9 months later, I mean, god dag, look how long Xbox players have had to wait for god doggone Gears Tactics. They're saying it's going to release with the Series X, but good grief, it's been months upon months upon months. You've never seen that happen to an Xbox game. So, I mean, good gosh, if Microsoft continues down that path, I don't know if anything will change. I think they need to put more value into the box. And until they do that, even though they may have the power crown and, you know, have the better ray tracing, the possible better frames per second with different games varying with, you know, how big the games are, the bottom line is, where's the incentive to get the console? You know, outside of that, it's always about the games, man. So we'll have to see what they do on that front. But, oh yeah, another thing, talking about PlayStation, they're saying, and I didn't write this down, but they are saying that Final Fantasy 16 is an exclusive, and it's going to show up on the PlayStation 5 showcase. And man, how interesting would that be? That's one of those big AAA games that they got for their console exclusively. Now, do I think Final Fantasy 16 is going to really move the meter for people to go out and get a PlayStation 5? I kind of don't. But if they're getting those type of caliber games to be exclusive, who's to say how far that hand is going to reach when it comes to getting other games as exclusives on their platform? It should be interesting. I'll be looking out for that. But jumping right back into some Xbox news, and this is the final story for the week, but oh man, this doesn't look good. The Xbox Series S will not run Xbox One X enhanced versions of backwards compatible games, but will instead run Xbox One S versions of Xbox One and Xbox 360 titles. Eesh. Yeah, that's not good, man. Not good at all. I was hoping that I was hoping for that high fidelity, man. I understand that it's a less powerful console, but God, dog, man, it's not even going to run the Xbox One X enhanced versions of backwards compatible games. I thought that the Series S was more strong and more powerful than the Series X. What the heck is this? Oh my gosh, man, this is ridiculous. This is ridiculous. Man, I don't know. It's other developers that are coming out talking about they can't do but so much with the Series S and all of this stuff. I have no idea. But anyway, guys, that is the end of the gaming news this week. Now we're going to jump into the final section of the podcast, and this is where I ask you guys a question. You guys already saw it, but I'll ask it officially. Will PlayStation do a all-access program? I mean, look, you have Microsoft out here. They're really going to push it this time. It's supposed to be at a ton of retailers this holiday season. And, I mean, that definitely will help some people make a decision, I believe. Now, if you're a hardcore PlayStation fan, it is nothing that's going to tear you away from wanting that console. I don't care if they were giving the Series X away for free. I ain't gonna go that far. I don't know about that, but it would take a lot more than a payment program to have you say, hey, yeah, I'm gonna jump over to the Xbox side. But I do think it would go well for Sony if they did implement such a program. But I'm not going to make it a long-winded answer. I think they would do great, or a question, I should say. So, yeah, that is the question of the week. Will PlayStation do an all-access program? If you want to be a part of the conversation, you can do it two different ways. Either call in at 443-216-9934, or you can email the show, and the email address is the Analog Circle Podcast at gmail.com. I want to let you guys know I truly appreciate you guys tuning in. Yeah, this was a shorter show. I got to get ready to leave out of here for work in about 40 minutes. So, yeah, that's why maybe the energy might have been a little off during this episode. I was all over the place. Man, I'm always all over the place. Doesn't matter what episode or what's going on. That's just, man, I don't know. That's just where my mind be, brothers and sisters. But anyway, I'm going to wrap this on up. And we will be back at it again next week for sure. But until then, always remember, it is not about the consoles. It is about the games. So until next week when we do it again, you guys take care. Be safe out there. Bye-bye.